Okay, hello everyone. If you could just let me know, guys, if you can actually hear what I'm saying, that would be great. Um, this is going to be a bit different from my usual shows. I've had an absolute nightmare over the past day. I spent the first half of the day preparing for a new episode of the Nephilim Look Like Clowns. It was going to be, well, it is still going to be when I get around to it. It's going to be about the comic book character Venom. And going into a deep dive about what that character is all about within the Spider-Man universe and how it relates to the Nephilim and clowns and black goo. But what happened is, after I spent a good part of 3 hours preparing all the images for that and everything, I went upstairs, came back down, and my laptop decided to die and break. So I've done everything I possibly can think of. I've run diagnostic tests, and it's repeatedly told me that my hard drive is done for. And the only fix is to replace the hard drive. So I've lost everything. I have literally lost 2 years, maybe a year and a half worth of work, images, thousands of images. I've pretty much lost everything. And it's been a heartbreaking evening up until now for the past 3 hours trying to wrap my head around this situation. I can switch the camera back here. I've got it here. It was a HP Envy. It's a decade old, maybe 10 years old, maybe more, and it's just stuck on the startup screen, and everything about it is just hard drive damaged, useless, broken, lost all data, cannot be repaired, needs to be replaced, done for. I will look into some kind of data. It's early days yet. Maybe I can look into finding out if I can get some kind of data recovery person to look into it, see if we can remove the hard drive or do anything about it. But everywhere I've read, it's basically said no, it's done. Like your hard drive is probably blown, basically. So there we go. So what I have been doing is me and my wife have been trying to. Luckily, she had already ordered this battery to go into a really old MacBook she has from like 2012. So again, it's 10 years old, 11 years old, just like this laptop. And she broke it herself like 2 years ago. She spilled hot chocolate on it. And luckily, we've just found out today because she ordered a new battery for it. By replacing the battery, it's actually working again. But even that is so outdated, it won't even run OBS, this software I'm using currently to do this live stream. So what I'm using right now to do this is our MacBook. I think it's one of the latest 2003 versions, which we use for work, and what my wife uses primarily for her own work as well. So it's not ideal. We're now essentially a one laptop household, which isn't good when I've got a book to write and we have work to do as well. My wife has work to do on this laptop just as much as I have work to do on mine. So it's not great. Luckily, the book is all on online, so it's not a big deal. That's all done through Google Documents, so I've not lost that. Luckily, it's just mainly things like I've compiled like thousands of images, all to do with this work, the clown stuff, which is what I use for this, to do this. So I can't put in the background right now like a rolling stream of images like I've been doing recently. I just can't do it now. I've lost them all, and they were all perfectly trimmed to fit the screen. You know what I mean? They'd all been cut to size. Hours of prep and work put into that just gone, and I had no indication it was about to happen. No idea whatsoever. I did not see it coming. It just happened randomly, and I thought I had more time. I should have backed it all up sooner, like I said, luckily when it comes to actually my work, like photography work, all that's on the cloud anyway. It's done through Lightroom and other things, so it's not a big deal. I haven't lost anything like that. And we have all that backed up on a major hard drive and that kind of thing. But I never really backed up everything major for my work on the YouTube channel. Maybe it's a lesson learned that I'm going to have to start doing that. And now I'm going to have to try and figure out how I'm going to get a brand new laptop that can keep up with demand. Because the issue with this one was, I think it's an overheating issue. It's 11 years old and it just could not keep up anymore with the demand of today's world in general. All programs, things like that, they just require more than this thing has built into it physically that it is capable of actually doing. It cannot run Photoshop without it turning into an iron, basically, and that's probably what happened, you know. And I think it's melted inside. So it's time to get a new laptop now. But I don't know. They're not cheap, are they? Destroying the laptop via baseball bat may be cathartic, says Humble Stranger. Maybe. I'm going to attempt to recover something from it first, and then, yeah, maybe I can take a baseball bat to it. But it's just been a stressful evening trying to figure out what we're going to do. I was looking into funds, and, you know, me and my wife, all the money we earn goes towards paying bills and all that sort of stuff. I was looking into how much money I've got saved up from ad revenue and Patreon, and I have about £800. But I was hoping to keep all that there as like an emergency fund in case anything came up or happened. So I don't know. Maybe I have to buy a second-hand laptop that's like maybe 3 or 4 years old or something like that on eBay, and see if that can keep me going for a bit longer. But it's just one of those things in life that happens, isn't it? I've just got to try and figure something out as quickly as I can. The issue is I'm going to struggle to make videos now. I'm going to have to wrap my head around this MacBook that we've managed to boot up, which again is still quite old, and even that will probably struggle to keep up to date with what demand is now, you know, to make things. I'm going to have to borrow this every Sunday night to do the live show. So my wife is upstairs now, basically just, I don't know what she's doing. She would normally have this laptop doing work, so I have no idea. How bad is inflation in the UK? It's as bad as everywhere else. It's not great. I think it's something like 9% now. I don't know. It's bad. Everything's gone up in price, and the wages have obviously matched it. But I'm self-employed anyway, so the wage doesn't matter to me anymore, essentially. What have we got here in chat? What's going on? The good thing about this laptop, though, is that the sound is really good. I don't have a microphone plugged in. This is just the sound from the built-in within this. This was a very expensive piece of equipment, because that's what you need in order to edit photos. You need a really good piece of equipment to do it effectively and quickly and efficiently, and you have to spend the money, you know. So this was a business expense, this one. But the sound quality is really good. I'm very impressed with the sound quality, and the image quality of this webcam is really good as well, to be honest. Ride the Liger says, buy an Apple MacBook Air with an M1 processor. You can get it cheap, does everything with good performance and lasts forever. I'll look into that. Yeah, I'm probably going to make the switch to Mac. To be honest, I just hate using MacBooks. I always have. I'm prejudiced against Mac in that respect, and not because the logo is an apple with a bite taken out of it, and, you know, and the rest. But it's mainly the interface. I'm not very good with it. I'm a computers guy. I'm a Windows guy, and I've learned a thing or two having, you know, doing my work for the photography company on this now and editing photos. But it's irritating how different it is to Windows. It's that change is going to be difficult for me to make, but I think I'm going to have to, just because of the power behind these machines. It's very coherent. Look at second-hand stores. They occasionally have older computers. Yeah, like I said, I probably am going to go second-hand or refurbished. I don't think I can buy brand new. We can't afford that. No chance. You want to know something? I think this is a setback for a greater comeback. Maybe. Because this is the problem. Well, this is the annoying thing. I was just gaining a lot of momentum. I had loads of work backed up that I was about to do. You know what I mean? I had loads of things ready to go. I had all the images prepared. I have scripts written still. Luckily, they're saved and everything. But all the prep work I'd done for this week's worth of content, it's just gone. It's just gone now, you know. And I've got to start from scratch. slowly whenever I can. And it's just an absolute pain. An absolute pain. Um, it's my own fault. It's my own fault. I should have backed it up more. But again, I didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming. It was working just fine, and then it just wasn't. Oh dear. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what's going on in the chat now. I do have a little presentation for you guys today. Just a few little things I want to talk about. It looks like we've got about 30 people here right now. That's a good number. Again, we've got pretty active in the chat. That's great. Yeah, I might as well just get into this. I've got just a few things I want to discuss with you guys that I've just been mulling over a little bit here and there. It's nothing major, but interesting nonetheless to my research. I want to get more into the clowns and just one of the famous clowns of the past, really, called Whimsical Walker. This clown kind of came after Grimaldi the clown, the first initial famous clown as we know it in the West, who dressed in that particular way with the white skin makeup, the crazy hair, the multicolored clothes. Grimaldi was the first person to dress like that, stylized and made that way through the production of Charles Dibdin's work, The Freemason. But after Grimaldi, I think he passed away maybe in 1830s, I think, something like that, maybe 1820s, 30s. There was a famous clown who was born around the time he died, was quite famous in about, I think it was 1850, the 1860s, the 1870s, something like that. So we're still in the 1800s, but it's the latter half of the 1800s. And this particular clown became one of the world's most famous clowns, just like Grimaldi, and he had such a disturbing, creepy look about him. It's unbelievable. Glenn Starr says, engineered obsolescence is the soup of the day. Yeah, I know. It's everything you buy just is constantly breaking all the time. So you have to buy the new latest current thing. It's the bane of existence. But yeah, anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip the screen. Hopefully this works. So let's have a look. Yes, there we go. And I need to figure out how this thing works. So I'm going to open the tab. I assume you guys can see this. I'm going to guess you can. But yeah, here's a biography of Whimsical Walker, or Tom Walker as he was known. A clown of mystery, it says. So this is written by the great-grandson of Whimsical Walker, Robert Breen. So it says, mention the name Whimsical Walker in many different versions of who he is will be presented. This is the definitive outline. Whimsical Walker toured the world 3 times during the 14 years he was with Hengler's Circus and played 21 seasons in pantomime at the Drury Lane Theatre. Okay, pause right there. The Drury Lane Theatre, is a very infamous theatre for clowning. Joey Grimaldi played there himself a lot. All the stagehands from the Drury Lane Theatre, all the people who worked there, started a secret society just across the road, at a club, like a bar that was just there. The bar doesn't actually exist anymore. It got demolished a long time ago. I was looking into this, but just on Drury Lane, just off from it, was this pub that they all met in, and all the stagehands created their own little secret society. Just off this lane, which later became the Royal Antediluvian Order of the Buffaloes, which is actually one of the largest fraternal orders in the world, next to Freemasonry and the Shriners. It's up there. They have them in every country where stagehands and travellers and performers went. It's not so much about performers anymore, but it was originally. And it was actually on Drury Lane, just opposite this theatre, where this secret society was made. And I start to think there's something about that involving to do with the clowns. I don't think it's a coincidence. I do think it is an offshoot, or probably funded by or supported heavily by Freemasonry originally. It seems like it has all the symbols and the trappings of a Freemasonic order, but they don't call themselves that. They claim not to be. And they claim that they're just, a philanthropic order who's out there to raise money for charity and have a good time while doing it. But I'm not buying it. That's the front, that's the lie that they all tell. But I just thought that was interesting. You know, on Drury Lane Theatres, where this guy played as well. So he came to the world on the 21st of July, 1851. Yeah, so about 20 years or so after the death of Grimaldi. As Thomas Henry Dawson Walker, the son of the landlady of the inn, the March of Intellect, in Hull. So his father was Robert Stanley Walker, who actually worked for Cook's Circus. So it was in the family. At the age of 8, he performed in Pablo Fancu's circus. He learned all aspects of the business and became an equestrian, tumbler, rope walker, clown, and all-round adept circus performer. He was a frequent visitor to America, having visited 16 times. His first visit was in 1874 with a contract to John Murray's Railroad Circus. It was some 8 years later, in October 1882, before he returned to the UK. In 1887, whilst with Barnum and Bailey, who were obviously well-known Freemasons and circus people of the time, he purchased Jumbo the elephant for them from the London Zoological Gardens for the sum of £2,000, which probably by today's standards, no, this is pre-depression era money, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money by the standards of the day. It's got to be the equivalent of maybe, I don't know, £100,000 today or something like that. I mean, you know, in the region of up to that. The fee was more than paid back in just a few performances. So this guy was making some bank being a clown back then. It was a lucrative business if you were good at it. Walker, on a profitable pantomime presentation of W.S. Gilbert's The Three Wishes at the Metropolitan Alcazar Theatre in New York, thus becoming the only person to put on a successful English pantomime in America in his day. However, he became bankrupt due to a defective theatre balcony, and just fixing that balcony utterly bankrupted the guy. So that's a terrifying prospect. I assume it also broke while people were sat on it, and they probably sued him as well, and it just became a nightmare of legal fees and construction fees. So this person, you know, had this theatre and it destroyed him financially. He did not recover. In 1886, he was commended to appear at the first Royal Command performance, staged at Windsor Castle before Queen Victoria. So this guy played in front of the Queen. He was that renowned. His last performance before royalty was for the first visit to a circus of the Princess Elizabeth in 1934. He died later that year on the 10th of November in Gorleston-on-Sea at aged 83. So he did perform for royalty, Queen Victoria, and he also performed for royalty again, Princess Elizabeth, in 1934. So this person got to know royalty through his own performances. So it says here, an article published in the Balham Tooting News gives a raft of additional information about this guy, but just how accurate it all is has not yet been ascertained. So it says here, Whimsical Walker gives much of the same information. He joined C. Adams Circus, was a great favourite in Sheffield, York and Scarborough, where he had the honour of appearing several times before the present King and Queen and a host of distinguished people. He then went to America, travelled the first railway circus. He was in many accidents, travelling through the Rocky Mountains to San Francisco. He afterwards went to Japan and China, returning to England to join Hengler's circus, where he achieved a lot of fame as a children's clown. And this is the first image we see of him here, and just look at this guy. So creepy. Like, this is the creepiest looking giant man baby thing I've ever seen. Like, this is truly horrifying. And this is for kids. This guy, you know, you read all these words about him, and you think, oh, this guy probably sounds like a nice guy. But when you actually see images of what this guy dressed up like, it's like, ugh. Oh my god. People thought this was funny and cute. So yeah, look at this guy. This is him actually here with through the Barnum and Bailey circus, with the elephant they bought for it, this huge elephant, Jumbo, and this is him performing with it here. So it's quite the typical clown outfit there. But someone here has compiled some random images, and this is him when he's not in clown outfit. This This is a strange figurine of him, which this person cherishes on Facebook here. Here's him when he was a bit younger, where he's doing more of his equestrian tricks, riding on donkeys and so forth. But as he got older, he turned into this really creepy looking thing. Look at this. What kind of monster is this? This is truly horrific stuff. You know, and he's got the cane as well in his hand, which is a link to Harlequin, and obviously from the pantomimes, and it's the slapstick, isn't it? But again, the ancient roots of this, which I've been researching for my book, goes right back to the club carried by the Wild Man. And Helikin, the leader of the Wild Hunt, the giant demon, which Clowns, or at least Harlequin, was originally based on. And he carried around this stick, this club. And here's this demonic representation of a Nephilim giant with his own club here. And he's pointing to it in this image, which is bizarre. So strange. But look at this. Isn't this is just a horrifying visage. Like, this guy looks miserable as well. It looks like he hates his life. Like, this is not what I thought I would be, type of thing. Dressed like a giant baby, you know. This one was a truly creepy looking clown. Look how miserable it looks here. It's taken the whole sad clown thing to a whole new level. Look at that 1,000-yard stare. This guy has seen some things, you know what I mean? He is tired with life. This is all about how he bought the images. Oh, sorry, the words I'm skipping through. It's just a story about how he bought the elephant. But I often show you this Barnum and Bailey poster here. And clearly he worked for Barnum and Bailey at the time. This might actually be a representation of him, perhaps, now I think about it. But have you noticed how he's represented as a literal giant among very extremely tiny people? It's almost as though these people look like grasshoppers in his sight. You know, if we want to go back to numbers. So I thought it was interesting that they stylized him here as a literal giant among men, which is what the clown represents. So there we go. And here's obviously Jumbo, the giant elephant. These tents that they put up for the circuses. Yes, this guy's just obsessed with Jumbo. I just thought, still interesting nonetheless, and creepy. Just a creepy looking guy. So let's look at more images of this clown. Let's type in Whimsical Walker. And this harkens back to my last Truth or Therapy session, where I was going through all these photos of these classic vintage clowns and just asking the question, what the hell were these people thinking? What made them think this was a good look for children? What was going through their minds? Look at this. This is so creepy. This is truly horrifically terrifying imagery here. Like, this does not scream anything good to me. Like, this is, if I saw this, I would run. I would honestly run from this thing smiling at me. I would be in fear. I'm not even scared of clowns, but I'm scared of this guy. Look at him. It's something about it. It's just so off-putting. And this is one of the most famous clowns in the world at the time, you know, one of the best and most brilliant performers ever, you know. These are colorized images, or black and white images, I believe. And I don't get it. I don't get it. This is just creepy. But in terms of reptilian multicolored patterned clothing, this guy went really all out at the time. Very, very, very lizard-like, very fish-like, you know, very bird-like with his clothing. Really went for it. And I thought it's interesting here, you know, this image of him peeking his head from behind a black and white striped veil. If this isn't the Nephilim, disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, making themselves clear from behind the fractal matrix curtain, popping themselves into our world, I don't know what else it's symbolic of, but it's all there, you know. And again, I don't trust that these famous clowns who dressed like this weren't up to something dodgy. I don't. I truly don't. I think they were all in on something that they were all laughing about during the day, you know, at the time. I mean, look, here he is again. A drawing of him, you know, and these evil horned clowns all over his clothing. This illustration is just so creepy. This look in his eye here with his head tilt. And he's often depicted with his legs like buckled in like this, like he's some kind of baby or child or something. And it's just so creepy to see a fully grown man act this way and dress this way. Here he is with a couple of hat men, ringleaders, the Freemasons of the day, I'm sure, the gentlemen and the fellows of the societies, come to see their grand performances put on for them. Yeah, there's another ringmaster as well on his black and white checkered floor. If you didn't know already, guys, only the Grand Master within Freemasonry is allowed to wear the top hat. So to have this ringmaster at the center of the circus orchestrating the clowns or the demons is highly symbolic of the rituals that are played out within Freemasonic halls. And that's what the circus truly is. It's a representation of Freemasonic ritual put on in front of the masses, just on a grander scale than what's performed in these little Freemason halls. And also the Lord of the Rings, the ringmaster is a link to Solomon, a patriarch these people idolize, because it was through the power of a god-given ring that Solomon had the power to control demons. And I think there's a symbol there involved with this whole ringmaster symbology. They were obsessed with rebuilding Solomon's temple during the time of all this was happening, and the late Victorian, pre-industrial, post-industrial time, just before the Great Depression hit. They were just building temple after temple with the two pillars that was mimicking Solomon's temple. This is when all these circuses were everywhere. So I believe it's all connected. And here he is with these weird-looking buckled knees again. So interestingly enough, this guy's grandson carried on the family tradition, and here he is. He is now a clown. He goes by the name of Wimmy the Clown rather than Whimsical the Clown. So here it is. Clowning is in my blood. Descendant of Queen Victoria's favourite clown comes to Glasgow, and this is the guy who works for Zippo's circus. And this is the grandson. And he's a creepy. He's the only one who wears his makeup in the circus as well. And just look at the way he's done his makeup with this whole faint effect as well, like it's fading away. There's something eerie about this one. And this guy's a creepy stare at him as well. I don't know. Call me paranoid, but I just don't trust these people anymore. Who's he pointing up to there? I don't think it's the sign. It's something else. Anyway, let's read this. Famous clowns have brought their colourful craft to Glasgow over the decades, lighting up venues such as Hengler's Circus, the Glasgow Hippodrome, and Kelvin Hall. Did Whimsical Walker, one of the most well-known clowns of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, who was a favourite of Queen Victoria's, ever come to the city? His great-great-grandson hopes he did. And there he is. I'd like to think he did. Glasgow audiences are beautiful. Glaswegians are lovely, lovely people, smiles Philip Breen, or Wimmy, as he's known in tribute to his celebrated ancestor. He knew everyone, the royal family, Barnum and Bailey, Charlie Chaplin. He toured the world and became a pantomime star and appeared in silent films, and he did literally run away to join the circus. He worked his way up. In 1887, when he was with Barnum and Bailey, he purchased a jumbo elephant for them from the zoo. £2,000, blah, blah, blah. He was Queen Victoria's favourite. He appeared at the first Royal Command performance, staged at Windsor Castle, and his last performance before royalty was the first visit to the circuses of Prince Elizabeth in 1934. Clowning is in Wimmy's blood. My first appearance was age 5 when my dad threw me into the ring, grins the 63-year-old. My mum was a trapeze artist, my dad was a clown. With Billy Smart's circus. Where am I from? I'm from the circus. I was born in a hospital in Kent, and the next day, the circus moved on. Growing up, we moved from town to town, a different school each week. Eventually, my parents sent me to a Brighton boarding school for children of theatrical families, because they understood it was hard for me. But I was going to follow them into the circus in those days. It was what you did. It was like going into the mines or working in a cobbler's. If that's what your dad did, that's what you did. Philip's wife, Roberta, is also a clown, but their son and daughter, Ashley and Chantel, have chosen not to follow their parents into the profession. In my day, you didn't have a choice, but nowadays you can go your own way, says Philip. They are proud of me and of what I do. He adds with a laugh, "My grandson Zach, who is 2, loves the fact his grandfather is a clown." Yeah, so whatever. This guy carried on the family tradition and is related to this creepy looking guy called Wimmy or Whimsical the Clown, and Mr. Tom Walker. Um, I call foul play though. I think he was a part of these shows run by Freemasonry at the time. He was in with all of it, and from the sounds of it, he was also involved with the mainstream media. He even worked with Charlie Chaplin. It was in movies and on TV. So full of it, full of it. I think they're all a part of the same corrupt past. But I think his grandson is probably just incredibly ignorant of the things his great grandfather truly got up to, what was going on. I imagine this guy perhaps isn't a part of the agenda anymore. I think he's just a diluted echo of a past tradition which has its roots in Freemasonic demonic worship, and he foolishly continued with it, not really understanding what he's doing. So yeah, there's a little presentation on just how deep this clowning goes in certain families. It's all in the family. We'll keep it together. So I'm gonna bring this back up. I'll put my camera back up. There we go. And let's see what the chat has to say. See if anything's been going on. Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. Someday, none of this will matter. We'll be too busy creating a better world. That's true. Just earning our wings in this tour. The Flintstones had the Royal Order of the Water Buffaloes. Yeah, that was a clear reference to the actual the Royal Antediluvian Order of the Buffalo. Such a strange name, isn't it? Why add the Antediluvian in there? The Royal Order of the Pre-Flood Buffaloes. And we all know what was going on just before the flood, if you've been following this channel. Naturally repellent. Yes, oof, yeah, this guy was an ugly clown, wasn't he? And the kids loved him, apparently. I don't buy it. All the studies have shown kids do not like clowns, I'm sorry. The Island Boys look like that dude. I'm not sure who that is. He looks pissed off at everyone. Yeah. There's an interesting ghost story recently, supposedly true, about a guy named Dan Mitchell, haunted throughout his life by being called Harlequin. Yeah, well, all the beings in the fractal realm look like a Harlequin these days, like a jester, So it's hardly surprising that that's the case. But yeah, if you can find or write down the whole story and send it me in an email to understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, I'd like to hear that spooky story. Elephants don't deserve this. I know, right? I know. Poor things. The Nephilim have lousy taste in fashion and makeup, that's for sure. They sure do. I'm about to get into that, actually. Yeah, keep that in mind, the fashion. Ugly is beautiful to them in the upside-down world. That's absolutely right. Krusty the Clown's self-deprecative nature seems to be a characteristic of them all. Absolutely. The hair looks like horns. It really was stylized to look like horns with this guy, yeah. Matt Groening is in the club, he sure is. Looks like the Terrifier movie. B-movie, but made it up freaky as hell. Yeah, the clown in that one, the Terrifier. What's his name? What's his name? I don't know. I've seen it thousands of times. No, I've not seen the film, but I've seen him coming up a lot. It's that creepy grin he has, isn't it? This psychopathic murder clown. Yeah. Clowns seem to hate children, which is weird, considering that their job is to entertain them. That's an interesting point. Why does the Hatman demon appear to many people's dreams? Just to be scary? I think a lot of it is about building up fear in their subjects. Yeah, I think they energetically feed off that fear in many ways. A lot of people describe it as like louche. It's the sudden release of that fear that they kind of feed off of can leave you drained for days. Panic attacks are a good example. People say they have a panic attack. Afterwards, they feel extremely drained, just like they've run a marathon, and it's kind of because all that energy has been purposefully generated within them and then pulled from them. In a way, don't forget, it's hinted at, in shows like It. It is a interdimensional creature who can pose as the individuals it's attacking's worst fear. And the more fear it generates, the more strongly it can manifest into the real world. And it uses that fear to like I said, become more powerful, so then it can physically eat its prey and manifest in this world. But it has to generate fear in its subjects first, which is why it becomes like a clown, in the movie, because it's there to scare the children who are scared of clowns. But it can take any form it wants, as whatever the individual is terrified of. I think in the modern movie, for example, the kid was scared of a picture of this woman on the wall, so he came as the woman in the picture chasing him. Another person was scared of a story he read about people being burnt alive or hung or something in the library, and the next thing you know, he sees the children being hung, and then one of them comes after him. The other kid is scared of getting ill and germs, and then a leper chases him. With his nose hanging off and all sorts of things. It comes as whatever the individual is scared of. And that film, from the book written by Stephen King, is trying to tell you, the demons use fear to their advantage. It gives them power in some weird way, some energetic way. So that's why the Hat Man, I think, comes to people, and the Hat Man truly is a terrifying entity when encountered by people. It generates a lot of fear energy. There's something mysterious about that character. I know Alpha Talks I think he may have just mentioned it recently in one of his videos. I assume that's why you're bringing it up, maybe. LVK asks, you see guys in top hats in a lot of old photos of mud-flooded cities, always standing around overseeing things. Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah, they seem to be everywhere. People have theorized that they are the post-reset masters in a way, the ones who have moved into the cities and claimed ownership first, and I don't know what to make of that. It was also kind of a fashion sense thing back in the day, a status symbol, but I'm not sure. We've got Susan here. Thanks for being here. Talk about San Francisco, and it looks like it's cold. Enos, you have a smiley face tattoo. Satanist before? No, I was just a young and stupid 17-year-old kid who was happy all the time. Always forever the optimist, forever smiling. So I thought, you know what, I'll put that on my skin. And that's as deep as I went. There was no more thought behind it than that. I didn't need to think any deeper about it. Thought it, wanted it, just did it. That was an impulsive, happy guy. Very young. Didn't consider consequences or long-term form or what people would think about me. I didn't care then, and I still don't really care now. But that's as deep as it went. I've never been a Satanist. I won't say that. But I definitely fell victim to Gnostic thinking in my my early years, in my early 20s. I went down the psychedelic New Age route. But I was always considered myself more of an atheist type. Kind of rejected religion in that respect, Satanists included. I thought they were all stupid. Went down the New Age Gnostic thinking type of route, but didn't necessarily go down the whole demiurge stuff. I stuck to the whole exploring consciousness type of thing, which comes with naturally Gnostic principles and ideas about the nature of reality, And that's kind of as far as I went down any form of satanic path, but I was luckily brought to Christ in my mid-20s, and here I am now. So that was it, really. We do a lot of goofy things at 17. Exactly. Who doesn't? I'm not. Again, I don't feel shame. To be honest, I forget it's there until someone points it out. When I was a child, I didn't care one way or the other about clowns. I wasn't scared of them, but I didn't think they were funny or interesting. Yeah. To be honest, I know I'm the guy who talks about them, but I don't think about clowns in my spare time, and I never have done until recently. Even I don't care about them, really. They're not something I've ever given much weight to or thought about or anything or obsession about. I know I was never into the juggalo scene or something, or I've never cared about it. It's just a connection I've realised, and I've kind of become the guy who talks about it. and I keep making the connections, but it's not like I wanted this in any way, or I kind of made it happen. You know, it's yeah, I feel weird that I'm the guy talking about the clowns because I don't really know much about clowns. Essentially, you know, the history of clowns. Or I've only just kind of discovered it all myself. So it's a weird thing. Monsters Inc. Yeah, Monsters Inc. is another fantastic example of entities on the other side in another dimension, parallel to our own, who use fear to power their world. They need the fear for energy in order to survive. It's the same concept, yeah. I find it interesting, you know, that in that film at the end, it's kind of they made it about laugh energy, and they can get more energy, more powerful from not from pain and fear, but from laughter or pleasure. And a lot of people, I was talking to Vicky Joy Anderson about this on my channel, and she was mentioning about this whole Lucia idea that it's equally as powerful for them to also not put the subject into fear and then drain off that energy, but also give them intense pleasure as well and an orgasm, and that build up of energy they then drain and take from you. They do it the other way too. So it's interesting that in that film they flip it, and it goes from fear energy and scaring kids to laugh energy and entertaining kids. And obviously I don't want to start talking about anything else about that, but it's interesting nonetheless that they would put that into their one-eyed symbolism movie. You know, it's all there. It's all there. Tip of the club looks like the color of fresh and older dried blood. Yes, the club he was holding definitely looks very bizarre. It looks like a wizard's staff as well. It looks like a wand, you know, to casting magic. It is supposed to be the slapstick though, and it did become a magic symbol within the pantomimes where they could whack the stick and the scene would change as if by magic. And that's what the stick was used for. It was kind of like a magical relic that could change the physical reality around them or the stage, you know, which is fascinating. The last Toy Story movie was creepy too, just dark. Yeah, I remember that one. It ended with them in a circus, didn't it? If I remember correctly, on a Ferris wheel. Now I think about it. Tip of the club, yeah. What's your take on the lady who saw a fake person in the aeroplane? Can you give me more information about that? And I'll do a quick search. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. They were wearing top hats in the Titanic movie. Yeah. It was also a fashion thing of a certain era to wear top hats, you know, like it was a status symbol. But older than that, in terms of ritualistic form, the top hat is a fashion, not necessarily a fashion choice, but a ritualistic item of clothing used by the Freemasons. It was a true symbol of power within the fraternity. And only, like I said, only the leader, the Grand Master, was allowed to wear the top hat. But once it left the thing, I assume they all wear top hats anyway. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. Reminds me of him from the Powerpuff Girls. Yeah. You can be a Satanist without being in the church as long as you believe. Do what you want. Yeah. No, I understood the whole "do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Aleister Crowley stuff, you know, but I never went down that route. I was very well aware of it all. I suppose in a way I did kind of live for myself for a period of time, you know, but I never got religious about it. But that didn't mean to say I didn't need saving, you know, and my soul wasn't corrupt. It sure was, you know, in many other ways. My life was pretty empty before I found God, definitely. And I was trying to fill that emptiness with anything I could, you know, silly little tattoos, drugs, sex, alcohol, just, I don't know, video games was another one. Anything to distract myself basically from reality, things like that. And yeah, it kind of ruined me, or where you end up wasting a lot of potential, you know, and you end up depressed. Realistically, that's what it comes down to. But I was saved. I was pulled out of it, luckily. I was drowning and he grabbed me and pulled me out. So I'm happy about that. The person she saw was fake. Her hand movements were odd. Zoom in on the pic of plane lady. Look at her neck. Yep, another latex mark. Okay, so people are describing the plane lady here. Let me see what's going on. The screaming aeroplane lady made the Baphomet hand gestures too. That's where the phrase slapstick comedy comes from. Yeah, it is, yeah. Could be argued I thought she was mocking the flight attendants when they signalled the emergency exits. The wand is a portable portal. Interesting. Aeroplane Karen sees fake person in aeroplane. It's a video. Right. I'm not going to play videos on here, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But that sounds interesting. I will look into that. The Hollywood clapboards make weird sense. Yeah, I've seen two people who claim to be that guy. Bread and circus. I feel like we are the greatest grandchildren of a synthesized humanity. So that's going down the whole Tartarian reset route, is it? Maybe. Like we're only like a couple of 100 years old, essentially, in terms of the new civilization that we are. Our timeline's been lied to. Is that what's going on there? It does feel as if everything is manufactured and nefarious. I just think she was a crazy lady. What's up with the Freemason that confessed to aggravated her? Okay, so this whole thing about this lady on the plane, I know nothing about, so I'm going to move on. I do have more to talk about my presentation here, so let's just get through it. There's been a recent release on Amazon of a show someone pointed out to me called I'm a Virgo. And I don't know if you've seen this. I'm going to go through it with you now, so let's just flip the screen and I'll bring up the tab here. Okay, so I'm a Virgo is about this young man here who has basically lived an incredibly sheltered life up until his late teens, because he was born and grew as a giant. He grows to be 13 foot tall. So here's an image of him dancing with his parents as a baby in his nappy, and he's taller than they are. Yeah. It's just about this kid, basically, this coming of age story about this kid. Here he is in his kitchen, and he is enormous, and he knows very little about the outside world, really, other than what he's seen on TV. And as he gets older, he decides to sneak out, basically, to go see what's going on. And he runs into a group of, like, activist teenagers and ends up making friends with them as they kind of teach him about the world. It's very much of a it's very, what I've seen from the trailers, I haven't watched it yet, but it seems like a very preachy story about, race relations and white man bad, that sort of stuff. The big bad guy is a superhero of this world, who's this guy here. And he very much stands for law and order, and he keeps the suburbs in check, let's say, you know what I mean? But he was a hero to this young man growing up who saw nothing but good things about him on TV. But he ends up being his nemesis as he goes out into the world. And this guy, I think, sees himself as like he needs to take down this menace, activist, giant black guy. And he represents the all-powerful patriarchal white guy, I think, and I don't know. It's all very preachy and symbolic and whatever, but let's forget about that. Okay, let's forget about the symbology between the surface level basic subjects that just divide people, like race and whatever. Okay, so just to put that to one side, let's just examine this giant, okay? This 13 foot tall giant called Cootie. I think his name's Cootie. Right. So first of all, I'm a Virgo. It's a astrological reference. Okay, so just surface level, astrology is not a good thing. It's a satanic practice, but it's what this whole thing is based on. There's a scene you can watch where he's basically outside, dressed like a tree or like a bush, covered in leaves to hide himself, and he looks up and sees the constellation. He goes, Virgo, Like, it's so important that we follow the constellations or whatever. I don't know it, but astrology is just a stupid satanic practice. But if you look at how this individual, first of all, actually look at this: the black and white checkerboard on the ceiling there, representing the lights. And I don't know, you have this giant here looming over these fast food workers. I believe one of these fast food workers has superpowers herself, like super speed or something. And he falls in love with her, and he keeps spending all of his money he earns to visit her and try and impress her or something. But if you just look at the clothes he's wearing patchwork clothing. I thought it was an interesting stylistic choice. Now, it makes sense in the universe why he would be dressed like this. Don't get me wrong, okay? It does make sense. Because he is so large, there are no pieces of clothing that fit him. So, his parents have had to sew together different pieces of clothes and make larger ones out of them, which is why he wears patchwork clothing. But this whole patchwork motif is such a common theme in clowns. The patchwork clowns. There's even clowns throughout history called Patches the Clown, And let's just type in, patchwork clown. And again, here's one straight away. Patches, patchwork. Patchwork again, all sewn together clothing. Here's it as a fashion choice, patchwork clothing. Different coloured clothing here. This clown's called Mr. Patchwork. Looks very creepy. It's just a common link to clowns, isn't it? Patchwork clothing and patches and stuff, and clowns all wearing different coloured clothing throughout. And I did wonder, is it simply just to play on this whole hobo motif where they have to sew in patches on clothes because they can't afford new ones? I'm sure there's that esoteric understanding, which is basic enough. Look at this creepy patchwork clown with a hat on, this creepy grin. So obviously, esoterically, basic stuff. Oh, the patches are just there to represent, a poor person who has to sew patches on their clothes. But symbolically, it could literally be a representation of how Nephilim had to dress. To make clothes for them, maybe the poor Nephilim, had to just meld clothes together, any cloth they could find, and slap it on their bodies because they were giants and it was hard to find clothing that would fit them. So that's why in this, this show I'm showing you here, that's exactly what he had to do. So I just think it's interesting in this show that they link this 13-foot giant and dress him like a clown. Why? Well, I don't know. I don't think I think it was a purposeful choice. I really do. I think they were trying to hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. Nephilim look like clowns. I think that's what it is. Maybe it was inspired by my work. I don't know. Or maybe they're just trying to actually tell us, yeah, there's a link here. There's a reason why clowns dress in patchwork clothing. It's the reason why we dress this giant in patchwork clothing. It's because the giants look like them. Just interesting thought. Just an interesting thought. I thought I'd share this one with you. And in the spirit of, mainstream media kind of bringing clown-like aesthetics and the Nephilim to the forefront, there's this other film that's being released later in the year in September called Apocalypse Clown. Look at this. And it says, when the world ends, the fun begins. And now that is just such an ominous tagline when you think about what we know. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man, or the end, in the final battle. And here it's claiming in the end, the clowns will appear again. And it's like, I do wonder, did they just make these films, which are probably not very good films, but do they just make them for the title card opportunity so they can spread it everywhere and just get that symbol out into the public consciousness? So then they can have that whole revelation of the method, predictive programming, karmic guilt thing dealt with. It's like, well, we showed the people the clown and the apocalypse are linked. We don't have to think about it anymore. We've done our part. And it's up to them now if they don't understand it. It's their own fault now, Do they just make these films so they can create posters like this? The big red nose in front of the sun creating an eclipse, an apocalypse clown. I don't know, but, it's the basic premise is that you have a solar flare has happened. And these three clowns, who are basically failed clowns, they're not very good at their job. No one's coming to the performances. But they end up getting into a scuffle, a fight, after getting drunk to drown their sorrows with street performers. You know those street performers who paint themselves silver and pretend to be robots? They get in a fight with a group of them and end up in a prison cell overnight. But once the next morning comes, the whole world has changed. There's been a solar flare and everything's off. There's no power. The end of the world has basically come. And they basically try and navigate their life in this world after releasing themselves from this prison that no one's running anymore, you know. And they find it's horrific at first. I think they have to kill people and they're terrified, you know, and then reuniting with a journalist, I think, and an old friend. He is the hat man in the background, the ringmaster, you know. And what they eventually discover is that actually they're really successful in the post-apocalypse. Everyone wants to laugh again and have fun, and they end up putting on shows that really are successful because there's nothing else to entertain people. You know what I mean? And they find their place in the apocalypse. The end. You know? And that's the rudimentary comedic story behind all this. But they have this inadvertently scary looking clown. She's not meaning to be scary, but she just ends up being absolutely terrifying no matter what she does. And I find it interesting that the scariest one looks like a demon with the red hair and the white skin, the quintessential clown, you know. And this is something akin to what the Nephilim actually looked like. You can see it more now with these evil clown representations, you know, just what we're really going for. She also has the multicolored fractal patchwork clothing. They have the reptilian frill around her neck, you know, the reptile skin, the snake skin patterns. I don't know. We have the Emmett Kelly style hobo clown in the middle, and then we have the mime, you know, who's gone for the wild blue coloured hair, the multicolored fractaled hair. It's just funny. Just a funny thought, just a funny thing I'd bring to you there. They're making a film about clowns and the end of the world, and it's coming out soon. It's already made. It was big in Glasgow. It won some kind of film festival award, and it's about to come to the UK on the 1st of September into cinemas. Apocalypse Clown. So there we have it, you know, another clown-related thing coming out into the media. And yeah, we truly do live in clown world since 2016 came and passed. The meme has ingrained well into people's minds. I think as we have a build-up of the times, more and more clown symbolism will come to the forefront as we have the revelation of the method, shall we say. And I just thought it was interesting. The end of the world and clowns mixed together in this silly film. So there we go, that's my presentation. That's clown-related. There's one last thing I do want to talk about. If we talk about clown world, I'm talking about this at my wife's behest because she was furious about this one. This one really got her rolling. And you know, I agree with her. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's worth mentioning that now health professionals are being urged to call vaginas bonus holes to avoid offending blank or blank blank patients. Women's rights campaigners say the term is misogynistic and wrong. It appears in a glossary of words for health professionals to think about using. Women have condemned a charity after it suggested the vagina could instead be referred to as the bonus hole to avoid upsetting certain people. Female rights campaigners today rounded on the alternative glossary, branding it both misogynistic and utterly dehumanizing. This is featured on charitable organizations Joe's Cervical Cancer Trust on a page for health professionals who are treating patients who have the disease. Today, the trust insisted it was not suggesting the term should be used by all women, but added it was important to reach blank men and blank people. But the bonus hole term, which the cause says was developed with expert organizations who work with blank community, was widely condemned. Who are these expert organizations exactly who are coming up with bonus hole? I want to meet these experts, quote unquote. Like, and how would you become an expert in such bullshit? I'm sorry. The page also featured a suggestion that the vagina might also be referred to as a front hole. And my wife was basically saying, you know, we're literally nothing anymore. Women do not exist. They're just basically chest-feeding birthing persons with bonus holes. Like, they're just not women anymore. Like, they're not allowed to exist because it might offend the delusions of certain individuals. And here it is, the image of it, how it looks on the thing. Bonus hole, an alternative word for vagina. It is important to check which words someone would prefer to use. So there it is. The term is featured on the thing. What a load of bollocks. So the people, activists spoke out about this, and I could keep going on and reading it, but you find the articles yourself if you haven't heard of it already. But it's got the female activists angered and outraged, and rightly so. I mean, first of all, to call it a bonus hole implies that it was not the main goal to begin with. And these bloody sodomites out there, it's hardly surprising, is it? It's hardly surprising that they would call it something like that. And I don't know, the whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm truly in awe at the clown world we live in. It's absolutely unbelievable. I thought I'd just leave with that bit of fun news there to remind you that just how stupid and crazy people really are in this world and how corrupt it all is. They're coming for our language, people. They're coming. They're gaslighting us and calling us crazy for pointing out that it's crazy that what they believe, and yeah, it's just getting worse and worse. Some of these comments here. Who is urging healthcare professionals? Who will donate to this charity? No! Exclamation mark. What have I just read? The world has gone mad. What else we got? What is the world coming to? This is pathetic and needs to stop. Absolutely ridiculous. This is insulting and offensive to women. Just stop all this nonsense. Ridiculous. How degrading. How utterly ridiculous. Whatever next. Yeah. So, no one's buying it. And the thing is, everyone's outraged and everyone says, no, this is stupid, stop it. And they carry on and they keep going. They don't stop, they don't listen. And this gender just keeps marching forward one step at a time, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter how outraged we are or how much we say we don't agree with this or we oppose it, it keeps happening, and just yeah. Okay, so let's close these tabs so we can keep my bandwidth going strong. I'll talk with you guys for a little bit. I'm just going to bring up this as well, so I'm back on camera. There we are. So anyway, let's see what you guys have to say about that. Give me your opinions on the bonus holes and the clown end of the world and the giants representing patchwork clothing and all that sort of stuff. What do you think? I'm a Virgo, but don't really believe in astrology. Well, good for you. Bubbles can expand. I'm a Cancer, if anyone wants to know. Not that it matters. That looks like a bad movie. How do these shows get funded? To being, yeah. Well, if someone's funding them, I think it was more of an independent film, this Apocalypse Clown, but it's being put everywhere because it fits the agenda perfectly. That's the thing. These people make these films for a laugh, thinking it's just a bit of fun, but because it fits the symbolic nature of the Nephilim perfectly and actually has the message embedded in it perfectly, they get picked up and then promoted and put everywhere by the people who do know what the symbols really mean. But even if they were created by a useful idiot, it still works. It doesn't matter. I think a lot of that goes on too. If it moves the agenda forward, it gets funded, says Drunk Wedding Photography. Literally, so you're on the same page with me there, aren't you? That's exactly what I said. Yeah. I don't watch movies anymore unless it's an older one, but I can borrow from the library. The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh was about Pisces. I don't know what that's about. The colour purple all over. Yep, that's right. I'm a Virgo. Purple everywhere. Might watch the Sound of Freedom movie. This is the content that could have been made into a really good movie if it had been written by more talented writers without a woke agenda. Yeah. Patches cover things. Yes, I know. Like I said, there's many things that patches could represent, but it's patchwork clothing is synonymous with people who are clowns. Clowns dress in patchwork clothing. So to dress this giant in patchwork clothing as well, I'm just making that symbolic link there. That's all I'm doing. I'm not going much deeper than that. Someone once said to me, the patchwork clothing of a clown represents the patchwork nature of their DNA, which I thought was an interesting interpretation. That's very metaphorical, but maybe it was literal. Like I said, like giants needed patchwork clothing because it was just people's normal clothes sewn together. Maybe that's what happened there. Maybe that's what it was all about. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to close my window. I have this pathetic, probably small penis neighbor who really likes to. He has this car which is incredibly loud, and about 4 times a day he just goes outside, starts the engine, and lets it run. Because I don't know, is it supposed to be good for the engine? He thinks, or something. He loves this thing, you know what I mean? But to us, with very thin walls in new builds, it's incredibly annoying and pathetic because we have a toddler who naps at certain times. It's always when we put him down for a nap and he's just about to fall asleep, this idiot starts his car up. It doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't do anything. It lets it run for like 10 minutes and it's stupidly loud. So I've just had to close my window because at 10 o'clock in the evening, he's just done it again. But yeah, there's a random rant there about neighbour politics. Full of terrible shows and movies, these streaming platforms, they are. Pied coloured leaves. Calling astrology satanic is a mistake. The wise men followed a star to Jesus' birthplace. Reading the stars is a real thing. They are to be for signs and times. Astronomy, maybe. Astrology, no. Astrology is divination. Astronomy was following God's calendar perfectly. It's different. Astronomy, observing the movements of the stars to understand the changings of seasons and when to grow things and when to travel and using it to travel and navigate. Absolutely. Astrology is the use of divination by asking the stars for your fate and future. And the stars became synonymous with angels as time went on. Planets, the wandering stars, became named after or synonymous with the names of angels because angels linked themselves to these stars. So when people pray to them and ask them for knowledge and information about their future, there would have been an angel attached to it that could then give them this false wisdom and information. It's a sacred science, sure, by God. Astronomy, sure. But the perverted version is astrology, which is what is the satanic shit, Stay away from that. But there's nothing wrong with observing the stars and using them for times and signs and seasons. Absolutely not, no. But using them to divine your future is satanic. I'm sorry. It's a perversion. It's like you've already had an argument about that, what I've just said. Yeah, astrology is the thing similar to tarot card reading. Astronomy is just the observation of the planets to use for seasons and signs. Yeah. It's become something else now, obviously. Now it's involved solely with trying to prove the heliocentric model and all that sort of stuff, And yeah, it's become something else. But originally, that's what it was all about. Pop astrology is stupid, though, horoscopes. When the restrainer is removed, yikes. I used to go to a Catholic school, and most of the girls in my class believed in astrology. Ironic, yeah. Released from prison, sus. Yeah, that's another point. The clowns get released from prison into a world that's going through an apocalypse. That is interesting. I never noticed that connection until you mentioned it. But yeah, that is in that Apocalypse Clown movie. And interesting enough, what got them into prison or trapped, or their souls trapped. There's the film and then there's the metaphor it could represent here. Okay, so in the film, these clowns fought against other clowns, so street performers, and they all ended up in prison. Now, if you go to the Book of Enoch, and the punishment that was given to the Watchers who created these Nephilim giants, they had to watch their children fight each other. Clowns fighting clowns, which is what happens in the film. Okay? And once they die, which is what they did, they killed each other off, they ended up in the fractaled prison of this world, the other side of the veil without a body. What these clowns did in the film is they fought against other clowns and ended up losing and all ended up in prison. So the narrative is parallel, it's there actually. Yeah, that's quite clever in a scary kind of way. I could be talking absolute bollocks, but it's there. It is there. That parallel story is quite there. Yeah, it's fascinating. I belong to a thrifty group on Facebook, and some people collect clowns. Yeah, this is the thing. I've not mentioned it. I'm not going to talk about it deeply today. I had it all prepped and ready to go. All the images already compiled. But there was this phenomena in like the 60s and the 70s where people were obsessed with buying Italian blown glass clowns, right? And the antiques now that go for a lot of money. But it's specifically these glass clowns, okay? And they look terrifying. And I had a family friend, some of the friends of my parents who were a bit older. And every time I went to visit them, she'd have these glass clowns everywhere when I was a kid. And again, I wasn't scared of them. I didn't think much of them until now. But it's like, I always thought, like, what the hell are these? Why? What's the appeal? What is the appeal? And there's something about that generation of people who just had such strange tastes in what they thought was fun or cute or interesting. But yeah, these glass clowns, I'm going to do a huge thing on it. But I bet on that thrift site, they're selling them all the time on there as well. They're everywhere. It's always a faceless expert. Yeah, absolutely. Expert in bollocks. Ha. Now you got me using UK slang. It's a fun word, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not going to say it again because I'm probably going to get flagged eventually. It has that plosive impact, which you want when you swear, and it's a fun. It's not like swearing exactly. It's like a fun one, isn't it? It's a silly word, but you know when something is bollocks. You just know. Gory holes, so vile. Yeah, nonsense. Being a parent really changes your outlook on life. Usually you become less of a hedonist and see what a miracle life is. Yeah, well, the people doing these things, I doubt they have kids, to be honest, who come up with this stuff. Praise Jesus and pass the ammo. Okay. Wasn't there a Bible story about a prophet that wore patchwork clothing? I forget which one. I'm not sure, actually. I'll have to look into that. What do you think of 2001: A Space Odyssey? I think Kubrick was trying to tell us something through heavy metaphoric symbolism. I think a lot of that film, the profane masses do not understand symbolically what the hell they're trying to go on about. But I do think if you're an initiate into Freemasonry or other occulted societies, then the symbolism probably comes a lot clearer. I think it's probably a story of the Gnostic film of mankind progressing itself out of this world into out of the prison of time, out of the prison of reality, through the aid of an alien intelligence, which is the black monolith, and it's through the impact of this black otherworldly entity, this darkness, that has inspired man throughout the ages to progress in time. But you wouldn't really know that from watching A Space Odyssey. There's thousands of interpretations you could make, from the opening scenes of the apes and all the way through. But then obviously there's a lot to do with AI in there, about the corruption of AI, the ghost in the machine, Hal, obviously the computer on the ship and everything. But then there's that weird going through time dilation at the end and seeing his future and all that. Going through those rooms, it's all just esoteric metaphor. And Kubrick was infamous for doing that in all of his films, so I mean, it's just more of the same. Maybe it's the pieces of clothes of those they ate. So that's another one. It could be. You just described my boomer neighbor to a T. Yeah, this guy I don't think is a boomer. I think he's like maybe a couple of years older than me. He's just an absolute. Yes, that's what he is. He's just just pathetic. He loves his car. Like, and yeah, it's entire life. And I meet these people, and no offense if you like cars or whatever, but I'm not interested. I don't get it personally. I just don't get it. I buy all my cars secondhand, and they're always like eight minimum 7 years old. I've had like three in my life. They're all secondhand. I've never bought a new car on finance. I don't see the point of paying so much money each month just for a car. I don't clean my car very often. I never take it to the car wash. I just don't care about that kind of stuff. As long as it runs fine internally and it gets me from where I need to go, A to B, I don't care. It's nice to have a bit of power. I've got a 1.7 diesel. It's okay. It's got some pull to it. It gets me. I can put my foot down when I need to. That's nice. I get that, but I just don't care. I just don't care about cars. Like I don't understand it. So when I see that guy doing that, I just look at him and think, yeah, I'm not gonna say it. Uh, Astronomy is the new perverted version. No, I know you say respectfully disagree. I'm going to respectfully disagree back. You have astrology, which is the divination using the stars, which involves often angels and other things, whatever you want to call them, spirit guides, all that kind of stuff comes involved with it. It's also using the movements of the planets in order to predict the future, and also when to gain specific powers and the movements of energies and all that kind of stuff. It's vain nonsense. Astronomy is just the observation of the movement of the stars for purposes of changing seasons and times, like a calendar. That's what it really was. Modern day astronomy is about making up nonsense about things they see through telescopes. But originally, you have the seven sacred sciences, astronomy being one of them. Cain's lineage, all the way through Enoch, perverted them and made inverted versions which corrupt mankind, don't make them better. Astrology is the corruption of the original astronomy. That's just the way it was. But today's astronomy is something else. Forget about that. That's also a corrupted nonsense now. Yeah. Ash, so relevant to combos I've had the past couple of days. I was deep into astrology for 6 years before finding Christ. I was freed from astrological thinking, free from bondage I didn't even know was there. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that happens. Raggedy Ann and Andy, yep, that's a good example. The City of Lost Children, a French movie. I've not seen that one. I'll have to look into it. Just watch an episode of Are You Being Served? That's a classic, isn't it? Featuring Punch and Judy. Another clown puppet performance. Yeah, the Punch and Judy's are basically it came from the pantomime shows of the clown and Harlequin. Yeah, it's all derivative of the same thing, which is why they look the way they do. They look like the stock characters that went through the Commedia dell'arte movements. It's a very British thing, though, Punch and Judy. Yeah. Disturbing as a kid watching it now you think about it. I'm some guy mercilessly beating his wife with a stick, his slapstick. Yeah. I just started recently, very fascinating, a ton of information there. Genesis 6 conspiracy. Yeah, I've read the whole book. I'm reading it again thoroughly over and over and over and using it as a strong reference point for my own book. My book has a lot of references from Gary Wayne's. It has from references from everywhere, but he was a solid foundation for the opening of the first section of my book, which I've just finished, by the way. I've just finished section 1 of my book, 10 chapters, which completely lay out the history of the Nephilim from start to finish, from the beginnings to now. Okay, done. And now I can start talking about the clowns and how things look to now in the following 3 more sections. But progress. It took me a long time to finish the last 2 chapters, but there we are. I've given a reading from chapter 9 of 10 on my channel. I managed to read half of it. I have verbally recorded the other half, but then my laptop broke and I've lost everything, so I'm gonna have to do it all again at some point when I have time. But that was very annoying. um, but yeah, Gary Wayne's book, great book. I can't wait for his next one to come out as well, which is soon. Remember that children's program called The Friendly Giant? I do. Now you mention that, I have to look that up again. But no, I do remember something like that. It was also like Roald Dahl's book, wasn't it? What was it called? The BFG, the Big Friendly Giant. Yeah. Um, yeah. This sympathy for the devil attitude that goes through a lot of things. Unfortunately, the reality is all the giants were awful. They were one way or the other. Um, I don't think there were any good giants in the end. They may have started out nice, but they very quickly became something else. Reading the stars does tell the future, basically. The calendar has marks, seasons. That's not the same as divining your own personal future from the stars. I'm sorry, that's not the same. Being able to map out the cycles of things around, in cyclical natures, and then mark out seasons and months and days is not the same as Janine, looking at her horoscope in the newspaper to find out that Venus is in retrograde within the constellation of Taurus. Therefore, she's going to make a lot of money in a week's time. That's not the same thing. I'm sorry. One of them is useful for times and weights and measures and scales. The other is just personal vain bullshit that keeps people locked into this just false view of how reality works. I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me otherwise, Knox. You're just not. Solomon was half fallen angel. Look into Bathsheba being a Peri. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Wasn't Solomon the king after David? And I don't see why, all the early kings of Israel were pretty well established within the 12 tribes, and that was the point of them. The initial kingship after Canaan was quelled of all the Nephilim. So I'm not sure where you got that information from exactly. But I'll look into it now you mentioned it, but I'm not sure about that. Those glass clowns are awful. People are excited to find them in a second-hand store. Yeah, they're everywhere, aren't they? They're literally they're all over the place. They don't make them anymore, so now they're like a rarity. But they were there. Yeah, a lot of old boomers have them in their home specifically. Yeah. Sorry. Astronomy uses math and chemistry. Mathematics were literally designed by the mystery religions. Joseph, his coat of many colors. Math was literally designed by the mystery religions. Yes and no. Yes and no. Joseph, yeah, his coat of many colors. That's an interesting one. I'll have to look into that story again to see if there's any link there to this whole Nephilim thing. But remember, God set a rainbow in the sky, which is multicolored, as a sign that he wouldn't flood the earth again. It's not that multicolors are necessarily evil. It's just that the Nephilim had psychedelic colored skin, and that went down through symbology throughout history, in artwork from then on. Car guys are dumb for real, for real. Well, I'm glad we can agree on one thing there, Knox. Joseph and the Amazing Technical Green. Science proves the Bible is true. Recommended video from End Times Productions. Total money pit. Cars. Yeah. I hate cars. They always break down at the worst possible time or simply blow up on me. Yeah, I know. My car, my wife hates it because of the amount of money I've had to spend fixing things. I don't think I've spent that much yet. She's just saying that because I don't think she's had to spend anything on her car yet. Luckily, she's one of those lucky ones who has had passed every MOT for like 3 years straight. But mine, unfortunately, has not. So there's always the odd thing I've got to fix here and there. I have spent a fair amount, though, over the past 4 years. I'm not going to lie. I'm not happy about it, though. Imagine if I had to spend that money and pay finance as well, though. That would just be a nightmare. I was reminded of Weird Al's "That's your horoscope for today, lol. Tomorrow you'll wake up, do a bunch of stuff, then go back to sleep." Yeah, exactly. What's up with Reiki? I noticed only weird women get into that. It's just more of the it's Gnosticism light, isn't it? That's what it is. It's how would you call that? It's like popcorn spiritualism. That's a good way to describe it. It's easygoing light spiritualism for the person out there who doesn't want to do any actual work. You know, it's um it's fast food religion. A lot of these things like Reiki, astrology, um, chakra aligning, yoga, all that kind of stuff. And I know yoga can come with a lot of like discipline, and it's difficult to get in certain positions, but all of its applications in the West is it's kind of like a bastardized version of its original form, and it's just there so people who have literally no sense of spirituality have that huge void in their hearts, which only God can fill. They'll try and fill it with anything else, and that's why you get things like Reiki and crystals and all that type of stuff. Um, I'm not saying there isn't some kind of minor power in it. Perhaps there is, but it pales in significance to the power of God and His creation and what He has in store for you. Really, it's just there's no real knowledge or wisdom to be gained through it. I was just recommended. So many young women are into astrology, crystals, essential oils, yoga, etc. I say all these things and I carry on reading, and somebody's just said the exact same thing afterwards. We're all on the same page in this group, aren't we? We truly are. I like it. I like it a lot. I like crystals because they're pretty. Haven't noticed that they do anything spiritual for me. No, I'm the same. I used to collect like rocks and things like that as a kid, shiny rocks and crystals, just because I like the way they looked aesthetically. I never considered them to have any power or anything, but some people really do, don't they? Um, you're arguing semantics when astronomy was coined in Greece, thousands of years after they started reading stars. Okay, whatever. I'm leaving that. I'm leaving that behind now. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean. Like, don't get too pedantic about it. Look up Anna Swan, who was a giantess. I will. Interesting. Do it now. Anna Swan. Wow, she was a giantess. Look at the size of her. Sorry, I'm going to show you this image. What am I looking at here? Right, look at this. So this is Anna Swan. Why is this picture of her just holding a young toddler with one hand like this? Who said, right, I've got a great idea for a pose, Anne. Right, get this. Get my son. Bring him over here. This will be hilarious. This kid's like, he looks terrified. Like, oh my God. Looks like Anna doesn't have much of a chin. Some kind of weird deformity going on here. So is this what's it called again? There is a term for this, isn't there? 8 feet high. And you look at this and you think, when you hear 8 foot, you don't necessarily think that's very tall, do you? Just thinking about that height. But when you see it in this image, it's surprisingly tall, isn't it? 8 foot. And look how much bigger she is. Look at the size of her hands and the size of the skull and everything involved. It's actually quite terrifying how much bigger 8 foot is to, like I say, a 6 foot person. And a 6 foot person is quite a tall person. A 7 foot. I've met 7 foot people, which are like, it's weird to look at, especially when you're my height. Like I'm about 5'7" or something. I'm quite short. So to me, it's like, whoa. But imagine seeing this, like an 8 foot person. It's like she was taller than that guy who always gets paraded around as the tallest, who has the cane. Interesting. I never heard of this woman before. Looks like she had a partner who was also a giant. There she is with the other tall guy with the cane. Interesting. Huh. The Canadian Giantess. Rereading the Victorian Freak Show. So she was a part of a circus show, was she? Thanks for the tip on this one. This is interesting. I'll look into this. Maybe I should do a video on simply just on real giants that we know of through history like this. And just go through them. All right, fascinating. Well, thanks for the tip on that one. Let's get back to the chat and see what's going on. God, that screen looks like a mess to you guys right now, doesn't it? What a garbled mess that is. Let's switch that back. People who seek astrology to find false identity because they are missing identity in Christ. And it is seductive to be your own God, to try to control your destiny. Yeah, I get you. Worship the Creator, not the creation. Yeah. Many stars burnt out. Reiki is a theory of energy like prana from the Hindus or vril from the Nazis. Yeah, I know it's. I'm not saying there isn't some kind of actual spiritual science behind it. There probably is. It's the level of importance people hold to these practices, which is disturbing because they do it, like I said, to be their own god and to have their own control in a very strange way. I think a lot of it's based in what's that word? It's not pride. It's not arrogance. What is it? It's kind of like wanting to seem better than other people. It's not like you are better than other people. It's that this idea that I don't know. Oh, what's the word? There's a word for this, and I'm blanking completely. Maybe because it's late. I don't know. You get these smug people who get into these practices and do these things because they believe it gives them a higher sense of I'm better than other people because I understand this stuff and they don't. It's not pride, that word, is it? If anyone knows the word for that, just remind me, please. Her husband was a giant too. Interesting. Yes, that was her husband. I think the world had a lot more spiritual power in the past, and everyone is trying to get back to that. Magic might have been a real back then, and that's why they're presented as nonsense now. Maybe. She's huge. My ceilings are 10 feet tall. Yeah. The pituitary gland is a hell of a drug. I like that one. I like that one a lot. There is a book called The Giants of Nova Scotia. I don't know if there is, but thanks for letting me know. I'll check it out. I just recently got into this channel, and your older subs seem to know a lot. Yeah, well, yeah, I've had this community for a while, Trent. I mean, I actually got a message from somebody recently, actually, and I said I'd give him a shout out, so I'm going to do that just right now because of the comment he left me. Let me just quickly get into my studio so I can see this. But yeah, we've had this community for years. I mean, I started the channel in 2014. I built up quite a lot of people. I had about 5,000 to 6,000 subscribers when I had to take a break for 5 years in 2017. And since coming back this January, the channel's doubled in size and it's been great. But I've been part of people here who've been with me for years. You know what I mean? And yeah, we have a good back and forth, a good discussion. If people don't know, there's a Telegram group. The link's in the video. It should be anyway. If it's not, check another one of my videos. The links will be there. There's a Telegram group where we can all continue a group discussion at any time, and we have quite a good little chat going on there as well. If anyone's interested, just join and I'll approve it. All I ask when you join is that you share with me how you woke up, what your story is, the things that led you to finding the truth, whatever that may be. And that's it, really. That's the only requirement. And there's just a rule on there. If you're going to post anything, please explain why you're posting it. I don't want it to be spammed with loads of crap. You know what I mean? But if you've got a legitimate reason you want people to know something about what you're posting, post it and then explain your thoughts on the post. That's my only rule right now, really. There'll be more rules as time goes on, trust me. But right now, that's my only rule. Because don't assume people just know what you're talking about, is what I mean. I don't want anyone to feel stupid. Just explain the reasonings behind your posts, please. That's all I ask. But yeah, join the Telegram if you guys haven't already. I'm just going to try and find this comment that someone left me. I'd feel bad if I didn't. I promised him I would give him a shout out. I just need to get his name. Here we go. So I've got Colm from Cork, Ireland. He says he can only text after the live. It won't work when live for some reason. So this guy struggles to leave messages in the live chat. Just a heads up to you guys. Make sure you've gone to the heading at the top of the live chat and you've clicked all comments or live comments, not top comments. If you only have top comments highlighted, a lot of people's stuff just doesn't appear. So make sure you're doing that. But he says he's been watching my shows from the start, even before I had the break. So he even remembers the break. Because the world was blinded, the eyes of God found me in 2015. So that's when I started my channel. At 44 years, I will always trust the Lord Jesus Christ, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Give us a shout out in the live shows tomorrow. I'll be watching. God bless. So, Colm, there's your shout out. Thanks for the message. Thanks for being here for so long. It's almost a decade now. I can't believe I'm 10 years older than when I first started this channel. But there we go. But we have a great community here, and everyone's really smart. It's great. Everyone gets involved, and I love you all. I truly do. What else have we got? Raise his vibration. Yeah, there is. If it helps, he's married to someone who will happily read her horoscope. That's my wife there. Yeah, so my wife likes all the whole horoscope Taurusy stuff. I don't know how much she actually believes about how much it would predict her future necessarily, but yeah, it's eerie though. I read mine about like the type. Your star sign is supposed to indicate your personality, isn't it? There's that whole thing, and it's eerily accurate sometimes. I will say that, and I do wonder: is it a self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing? Is it, as a kid, I read what I'm supposed to be like according to my horoscope, so I kind of grew up to be like that? Or is it literally how people just born at certain times in the year have certain personality traits automatically given to them? I don't know myself, but it's eerie sometimes, isn't it? And maybe that's the power behind them that sucks people in. Maybe there is some kind of power behind it. Perhaps it's demonic. I don't know, but maybe there is this thing. Something's got to be there for people to like it so much. It's got to give them something, right? A little bit of truth. So maybe there is something there, but I don't hold all my faith on it personally. People that know. Pompous, and yeah, it's sad because if there is any truth to these things, they are unusable now due to the corruption of polemists. Do what thou wilt. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not where truth truly lies at the end. In the end, preeminent, superior, to be cut above someone else. Yeah, I guess it's a superiority complex. I guess that's the phrase I was trying to get to. Something like that. Why I know. You're right. Yeah, they're good words. We'll go with that. Hi, is it over? No, it's not over. We're still here, nobody. Pretentious? Pretentious, that's the word, isn't it? Pretentious. I don't know, there's lots of words to describe these people. We all know what we think of them when we meet them, though, don't we? We all have lots of personality traits, so most of the horoscope signs are bound to match. My wife says, I don't believe it, but I would have loved to right now because apparently Taurus is on the up for a while. Well, that would be good, wouldn't it? Hi, I just woke up, says Kanga Kong. I've been sick. I'm sorry to hear that. I've been reading your comments and I understand you have been having a tough time lately. So you're in my prayers, Kanga. I am sorry. I'm glad you can make it here. It's a shame it's the end of the show, but again, you can always rewatch. All right, guys. So I've been going for almost 2 hours. I think I've got 10 minutes left to spare, give or take. I've got to map out for some videos that are coming. I do want to get more book readings out there of my first section, just little snippets. Again, like I said, I've released part 1 of chapter 9. So there's 4 subheadings to chapter 9. I've done the first 2. I do plan on getting the other two out there eventually, but like I said, my laptop has died. I do not have all the images anymore that I had prepared, or everything's just ruined. I've been set back at least 2 weeks here, or maybe a week, before I can get back to making videos like I used to. I may have to make more of the videos where I'm just talking into the phone in my car. But I did have a whole layout of more high quality production quality videos ready to go, and I've lost it all. I've lost it all. I've lost all the images and everything now, so I'm going to start again. So I'm sorry about that. I need to figure out how I'm going to buy a new laptop. That's just going to be an absolute pain. If anyone wants to help support buy a new laptop, then Patreon is the place to go. Sign up to my Patreon, everyone, and if you all just give a $5 a month, I will be set. I would be all sorted. I'm probably going to have to use the Patreon money that I haven't cashed out Patreon. I just leave all the money there. And I think at the moment I've got $400 saved in Patreon currently. So all that money is going to go towards buying a new laptop once I reach enough money. Because unfortunately, because of my business, what I do as a photographer, I need a high-spec laptop. Otherwise, you just can't edit photos. It turns out you can't edit photos effectively without really high-quality equipment. It's just with the way Photoshop does its updates and how demanding it is on a processor. It's just the way it is. This laptop couldn't do it. So me and my wife have been sharing this one. But like I said, my wife does all of her work on this. This is mainly her laptop. So we need to find a solution quickly. Did I miss the bonus hole, chat, says my wife. You did. I did mention about the bonus hole. I did mention the bonus hole. I ranted on your behalf. If you want to leave your own comment, do it now. I'm sure everyone would love to hear it. 31 people have not hit the thumbs up yet. Ooh, that's not nice. No, you guys support me enough. That's great. Looks like an old school Pooh Bear by your side. Oh, this is Jeffrey. This was my wife's teddy bear when she was a child. Yeah, he's very old. Jeffrey's as old as we are, if not older, in fact. And now it's my son's teddy. And this guy, this thing, what do I call this one? I can't remember what I call it. I think I just call this one Teddy Bear or something. And he's got so many bears. This one's fun, isn't it? I like this one. Yeah, I thought he can go there tonight, so it's not in my way. Might as well get the best quality laptop to serve you well. Yeah, the problem is, like I said, with technology, it goes out of date so fast, and because I'm in the business of needing a decent quality technology for as long as I can possibly have it, I feel like it's better I invest in the best now, so it has time, it lasts, you know what I mean? It actually lasts me a while. Even when I bought this, it was a budget laptop for about £700 10 years ago. And, and there were laptops going for $2,000 at the time, and I went low end, and it just has struggled so much. It gets so hot so fast, you know what I mean? And it's finally just blown. It's just done. The hard drive is frazzled. And it's just literally a useless piece of metal now. It means nothing to me. It's a shame, really. It's a squishmallow. Yeah, nobody. It is, yeah. There is a truth that has been distorted in astrology and in horoscopes, and no honor is given to the creator who created all of the movement of the stars and their effect on the rest of his creation. Yeah. Lots of Greek myths about them changing the stars. Even the star signs we have now are incorrect. 12 animals from where? And why as Cancer in the place of Leo in antiquity? Yeah, I've heard about all that too. That's interesting. Males have tent pole circus. Interesting. They have some dark power to make current horoscopes seem accurately honest. I love them both, those bears. Yeah. We have a video somewhere of our son Henry actually playing with this bear for the first time when he was just learning to sit up. And and he was in his crib, like playing with his bear and talking to it and hugging it and laughing. And I don't know, it made my wife cry when she saw it. It was very cute, very cute. But he knows them all by name. If you say go and get Jeffrey, he goes straight to Jeffrey and gives it a hug. It's interesting. Wait a minute, who said he was our son's? Sorry, it's still my wife's bear. My son just borrows it from time to time. There we go. They're a nice background, yeah. I'm not going to say Got's Kind's message there, but yes, bonus hole is not cool. Yeah, for real, for real. I agree with you. But yeah, guys, in the last 10 minutes, do you have any questions? Do you have any specific particular topics you want me to cover over the next week? People have been asking me to cover certain things. I've made the odd random 20-minute, 10-minute video just giving my opinion on it. Like I said, I talked about the pineal gland recently at someone's request. Are there any particular topics out there you want me to cover? Because it sharpens me as well, because it gives me a chance to re-research some old things I may have forgotten about, or certain subjects I'm not particular with. There are certain things I will not cover, though, which I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I have to protect my channel at all costs. So be reasonable with what you think I can get away with discussing. But are there any particular topics you want me to actually cover in the coming weeks? Especially now I don't have a laptop. I'm going to have to make more of these topical subjects before I can get another clown video out there. My next clown video is going to be about Venom from the Spider-Man series I mentioned at the start of this. I have a whole script written out, ready to say. I had all the pictures lined up. It's just all gone. It's all gone. I have the script still, but everything's gone. So, thank you from Denver, North Carolina, says Andrew. No problem. I have my old Pooh Bear from when I was 5, says Kango. That's lovely. See, I don't have an old bear. I never had a bear from my childhood. I'm missing out on something here, aren't I? Crop circles. That's a great subject, Humble Stranger. Yeah, it's actually on my list of subjects. I've got this list here. I read it out in the last one. And have I added any extras to this? I've got the Illuminati card game, the satanic child traffickers from the past, the Mandela effect. Does everyone remember transvestigation? Does anyone remember that one? That was an interesting little subtopic that came up a lot during the past. There's the pizza thing. There's the thing that goes with adrenochrome. We've got gang stalking, spirit cooking, cloning centers. What else have we got? I've got Brexit, Grenfell Tower, the Notre Dame fires and all the churches being on fire. We had the rise and fall of ISIS. We had the Malaysia plane going missing, and then we had a plane crash in Malaysia as well. There's the... What else have I got? Crop circles on the list. I got Ebola zombies and the bath salt zombies and the whole zombie apocalypse thing that was kind of being weirdly pushed on us at some point. Frequency weapons and 5G. We got vaccines, transhumanism and the 2045 agenda. We've got Club 33, the whole Illuminati music industry sacrifices. What else have I got? The Denver Airport mural, the Georgia Guidestones, numerology 1111. That was everywhere for a while. Orbs in the sky, the Phoenix Lights. When Zeitgeist became huge, that was a huge moment of the research community. Crop circles is there with ley lines, megalithic structures, lights and strange sounds in the sky. Who remembers the Norwegian spiral? Remember that and everything? That was a weird one. The coming rapture, consciousness shifts, alien disclosure, Project Bluebeam and fake alien invasions. We had CERN, we had the Gothard Tunnel opening. iPet Goat 2 was huge for a long time. Oh, the list is endless. Honestly, guys, I've got a huge list of topics I could cover here. But what ideally do you want me to cover first? What have we got? I almost bought him a bear for Father's Day. Well, there's always next year. Orbs are still in the sky. They are. They absolutely are. Yeah, I actually have my own story about that. And when I witnessed them myself firsthand, really up close, it was actually quite a terrifying experience when I lived in Lincoln, maybe 13 years ago now. Um, I will make a video and I'll tell that story. I think orbs in the sky are a good one, actually, to be honest. Um, yeah, I'll tell my story of when I experienced them. It was trippy. It was so trippy. It's a strange thing to see up close. I'll tell you that right now. Missing 411, the 5D Ascension. The German ballet Bauhaus by Oskar Schlemmer. I've not, but I will look into that. Bauhaus by Oskar Schlemmer. Bauhaus by Oskar Schlemmer. Okay, I've searched for that. It's now in my search history. From an immediate glance, that does look incredibly trippy from what I can see so far. I am going to have to look into that more. But let me just bring this back up. The destruction of the Georgia Guidestones, yep. Lots of clown VTubers. Heavily censored now, the transvestigation thing, yeah. VTubers and avatar ship, interesting. He needs a bear of his own. Denver International Airport is a creepy place. Yeah. And there's the Lucifer outside of the airport, the big satanic-looking demon eye, blue red-eyed horse, like the devil's horse. You know, that's a really creepy one. The black sun symbol, that's a good one to talk about. Heraldry, yeah, banners and flags and stuff. Definitely. Atlantis. Oh, of course, Atlantis. I'll have to talk about that at some point. It's a classic one, that though, isn't it? It's like a mainstream conspiracy kind of topic, like Bigfoot, you know, or flying saucers in Area 51. It comes under that kind of again, popcorn conspiracy. It's what everybody knows about and thinks about once in their life, and then never thinks about ever again and moves on from. It's those type of surface level topics. Still interesting when you actually dig into it. Don't get me wrong, but I think those topics have been talked to death by anyone and everyone. And I don't know if I want to get into the really weird stuff, the trippy stuff, the esoteric stuff, you know. What about the conspiracy about actors and politicians that had black eyes? Like they were all getting punched or were all possessed by reptilians was the wildest one I heard. Yeah, there is this phenomenon that every single celebrity always ends up getting caught with a black eye at some point. It's kind of akin to that other conspiracy that all black actors have to wear a dress at some point as well. It's like a humiliation ritual within the system. I definitely think a lot of that does go on, and I think it's probably worth discussing. I think I might bring it up sometime. What colour orb? It was actually, for me, it was a multiple series of clustered together orange orbs that were floating through the sky. And as they disappeared, more appeared behind it. And it was kind of like there was a cross section of space in which one light would appear, and when it would hit the barrier on this side, it would disappear. But it was continuous, like Pac-Man. It was they were just flowing through this space. These orange orbs, must have been about 50 of them, just flowing from one space to another. So these weren't Chinese lanterns coming up from the floor, you know, from the ground and going up into the sky. They were isolated to a spot within the sky, and I must have been literally 50 meters away, if that. Probably less than that, actually. It was all happening above this place in Lincoln, above these a random set of like terrace houses. So these weren't places that would have had gardens either, or effective gardens. British streets are very close together and packed together. And I was just walking home at night where I saw this. It was quite late, actually, very late. And there was no one else around to witness it. And I was in awe. I couldn't move from what I was seeing, actually, because I'd already done my research into this type of stuff. And I was like, here it is happening right in front of me. And I was actually genuinely terrified of what I was witnessing. And I really looked and observed, and they weren't physical. I don't know what I was looking at exactly, but it was like my eyes were trying to make sense of what I was looking at. and it couldn't square it. It was very strange. But I'll go into it in more detail again in an actual video. Portals is a good one. Babylon, yeah. That's a big list of really out of this world stuff. Wow, what a place to live in. That wasn't even half the list. I was just reading out. I've been trying to make a list of everything to do with conspiracy, all the topics. I think it's good to have it documented so we don't forget about some of them. I mean, do you remember all the mass coffins that were everywhere in FEMA camps? Do you remember that years ago? What happened to all those coffins? What were they used for? What's going on with all these camps? Like, are they still there? Have they all decayed now? It's been like a decade. Like, are we using them? I don't know. These other topics, don't forget about them because they all tie into together at the end of the day. But it's too easy to get swept up in the current thing that you kind of forget about these other things that are happening. Orange, jaw dropping. Yeah. Giant trees. Yeah, there was that whole no forest on flat earth video that came out as well. That was really popular for a short time. That basically explains that none of the trees on our earth are more than 200 years old. Like, they're really young. It's like, what happened to all the where are all the giant trees? They don't stop growing. Like, where are they? And they're not here, are they? Very interesting to think about that. And very interesting. Dinosaurs, yeah, that's another topic. Space is fake, or is that too much? I mean, I think there are plenty of channels out there already covering that stuff about alternative cosmologies that I don't need to really. There's nothing I can contribute. And no offense to those people who are really into that kind of stuff, but it really does bring a strange crowd when you start getting into it. And your channel can very easily get pigeonholed or corrupted through discussing it. It brings with it a lot of shillery, a lot of baggage, and a lot of stuff which is probably all by design and purposeful for many reasons, But it's not where my research lies, though. I understand it very well. I take it, I take the information, and I apply it to my worldview, just like everyone else should. But I'm not one to get too deep into it in discussion. That's all I can say about that kind of stuff. Guillotines. I've heard there's something about those. Yeah, the end times we'll all be beheaded as well, won't we? And my friend and I saw a ghost in a cemetery as a teenager. It was at least 10 feet tall. That's interesting. Natural cement. The doors are portals. The smoky god. I'll have to look into that. The portal door is all about first. Fake space really does bring in a lot of baggage. Yeah. I mean, someone who, did a lot of work on this before he was sadly taken away from us in 2018. I think he died. Maybe a bit later than that. But Rob Skiba really put a lot of time and effort into that. And he got a lot of flack for it, And I know there are other people who have done it, probably more work than him. But in terms of Christian truthers who really tackled the issue with all their heart, with a seriousness and a desire to make it as rigorous as it could be, I think Rob Skiba did all the work. Yeah. The one thing about the whole alternative cosmology topic, it's a Gnostic domain. Most of the people out there who talk about it are Gnostics or New Agers of sorts. I don't know if that's a purposeful hijacking of the topic or if that's just what people are more attracted to in that realm of thinking. I don't know exactly, but Gnostics themselves are just the worst. They are the worst. Like, I hate interacting with them. They're so arrogant and just so up their own arse. And they think I'm crazy because I worship the demiurge, and I think they're crazy because, I don't know, they basically worship the devil. And there's no in between. We can't convince each other of anything, and it's just a pointless conversation to have with these people. And stuff they come out with is just so ridiculous and just pompous and pretentious and, oh, I'm so smart and wise, you're all idiots type of attitude. And it's kind of, and then they project onto me that I'm the one who thinks and acts like that. And I couldn't be the most open person ever. I literally the talk and humor everything I possibly can all the time, you know. It's just these people, honestly, and I just can't bother bringing those people to my channel anymore. I really can't. I just can't. I'm done. I'm only human. There's only so much of it I can take. But sadly, there's plenty more to come. Plenty more to come. Who destroyed the Georgia Guidestones? The missing 1,000 years. Yeah. There's loads of topics, guys, but I'm taking all this into account. I'm reading your comments, and I will talk about things people want me to talk about. So I'm bearing all this in mind. Noahide laws are not safe for YouTube. Yeah, well, that's what Rob Skeever started to get into, wasn't it? Yeah, Gnostics are arrogant. Just a snake eating its tail. Yeah. You just go around in circles with these guys. Honestly, there's no point. I found it interesting. Someone sent me one of my latest patrons sent me a message. I need to reply to him. If you're listening now, maybe this is my reply now, but I will send you an actual written reply. But he sent me a link about what Hitler believed exactly, and how he was a Gnostic. And this guy lays it out brilliantly. He's not a religious person himself who does all this, but he's done the work, you know, and he basically lays out why Hitler believed what he believed, and he explains how he was just a full-on Gnostic through and through, and all of his actions were justified by this Gnostic belief system. And it was just interesting. It was fascinating and so on point. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm inclined to believe that Hitler was a Gnostic in many ways. The ultimate arrogance, you know. But I've been talking about it quite a lot in little rants like this on my channel, and I just he's put it together so much better than I ever could, and maybe I'll just share it in a community post or something for you guys to see. But I appreciate that guy sending me that video. I do. Like, it's yeah. But in that video, it says about Hitler, like, he wrote basically in his own book Mein Kampf, which he kind of wrote as like a religious scripture for his Third Reich, for his 1,000-year reign that was to come, you know, the Third Reich. But he wrote basically as a Gnostic. I'm summarizing his words, I'm paraphrasing. But he basically says, I don't waste my time reading anything else that goes against my belief system. I do not look at information or read books if they aren't going to back up what I already believe. That's what he literally says in the book. I don't waste my time reading about things that are not already perfectly aligned to my own beliefs currently. And that is just the Gnostic in a nutshell. Because I think Christians, you know, we search for alternative viewpoints to our belief system, and we're constantly challenging our own beliefs to try and find out if it holds. That's what we do, and that's why we become what we are. Not because we run away from people going against our belief system, but because we already came out of their belief systems and found the truth in this. Do you know what I mean? And we can't go 2 steps without somebody telling us why we're wrong. You know? And we have done our research and discovered, no, we're not, you know. But the Gnostics don't do that. They literally just swim in a echo chamber of their own belief systems, and they believe it's heresy to even consider other worldviews or read about anything that goes against their point of view. You know, and Hitler himself said that, you know, and I know it's I'm not trying to say that, you know, everyone who is a Gnostic is like Hitler. I'm not trying to make that stupid comparison, but the man did write that, and he was a true Gnostic in many senses. And he, you know, not all Gnostics are the same. A lot of them hate each other and have their own way of doing it, but he was certainly one of them. What have we got here? Kind of miss when I didn't know conspiracies. I don't have the attention span for this amount of info, says my wife. That's fair enough. Yeah, well, at least one of us in this house is grounded. Because it's definitely not me from the sounds of these things I'm saying. Remember backmasking? I do remember backmasking. Yeah, playing the records backwards. That's old school. You don't hear much about that anymore. Well, it's all digital now, isn't it? But I bet that's still going on. I do. I bet it's better than ever as well. I bet it's clearer than ever. Seeking you shall find, prove all things, no fear. Absolutely. They're about to eat their tail again. They think their family generations are protected. They're not. Yeah, that's true. That's why Hitler and Himmler had the Vril Society. It's also why he hunted for the Lance of Long. Oh yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they were heavily into the occult. Um, I've been trying to tell her that these people are great at sleight of hand. They had a full OZ experience, and I told her if they can put it in the circus, if they can put on a circus, they can land a hot air balloon in your yard. Interesting. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. A lot of conversations going at once here. Supposedly found it and hid it. That's interesting. Rob Skiba was awesome, says Andrew. He was. It's such a shame. His son thinks he was killed, I think, and I haven't followed much of his son's work, but I do know from headlines of his videos that he thinks there was foul play as to why he died. Absolutely. A lot to do with COVID, I think. I think something to do with that. Got him on a ventilator or something, and you know what happens when you end up on a ventilator. I think that's what happened. But I don't know. Do not quote me on that. That's probably wrong. I don't know enough to speak on it, but it's just a shame. But it proves that we're in a battle here, a real war, you know. Been watching a lot of your videos. My wife and I are Christian truthers and are loving it. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. What's that? Batman. I believe Skiba was assassinated as well. Yeah. It seems that way. It seems that way. He was just too likable. He just got the message out too clearly. I just don't think, and he got too big, and I think people didn't like that. That's probably more likely what was going on there. And he was even trying to make a film as well, wasn't he? Which would tell the truth. And that's their domain. The movies are their domain. He must have been encroaching on their turf. Who were you talking about on a vent? I kind of fell asleep, says Kanga. I don't know if he was on a ventilator or not. I don't know. But we're talking about Rob Skiba. Hey, thank you then. Glad to finally get a chance. Yeah. That's what I remember reading about Skiba. Also, Russ Dizdar and his wife died mysteriously. All around that time, a lot of these truthers were just dying. Just dying. It's just such a shame. Like I said, that Vicky Anderson was telling me about it after the show, I think. After our talk, we discussed it for a little bit, and she did say, yeah, a lot of these truthers all around the same time period were just getting ill, like really ill, and some of them died. Rush Dizdar being a good example. But you'll remember William Cooper, don't you? You know, he was killed in his own home by the police. You know, they shot him, just shot him dead in cold blood. The man tried to defend his home and they killed him. You know, and yeah. It's a dangerous world, you know. The truth is a weapon at the end of the day. In fact, one of my truther tips, which is for my patrons only, one of the videos I released last week is literally titled, you know, be careful with the truth, it's a weapon. Don't go swinging it around just so blazingly, you know, and like you've got to be very extremely careful with who you choose to tell the truth, because they may consider it an attack. They might not consider it, not be thankful for it. You know, they may, to them it's like holding a gun up to their face or swinging a sword around and they have to dodge it. You know, some people the truth is a powerful weapon. It truly is. And if you brandish it, some people will get defensive. They'll go into defensive mode or counter-attack mode. Not everyone's so appreciative of it. You have to be extremely careful. Jeff C died recently. Did he? Really? You see the guy who did Free Revolution Radio or something, or was that what it was? He was around a lot about 5, maybe 6 years ago, 2015 era. Was it Red Pill Revolution or something like that? Is that Jeff C? And he's died recently. Oh, wow. Well, that is something. I was just thinking about him the other day. I was mentioning it in a one of my videos that failed. The audio didn't record, so I talked for half an hour to nothing, But I did mention him in it. I was talking about that period of time where there were these factions of truthers online making their own roundtable, multi-group discussions that were going live everywhere, and Jeff C was mentioned in one of them. He was a young guy as well. I wonder what happened to him. Andrew Lindenberg says, "How did you make the clown connection? You are the man." Oh God, long story. Over a long period of time, it kind of all just fell into place. I've mapped it out many times and many talks. Maybe I'll discuss it again in more detail another time. But you can look back at some of my videos and eventually you'll come across the story. People would rather discredit witnesses than stop the gross things they're being witnesses doing. Yeah. Your Nephilim work is spot on. He did indeed, yes. So he did do that. Yeah. They hate the truth in Christ, which is the ultimate truth. One and the same. Red Pill Revolution. Yeah, it was Red Pill Revolution, wasn't it? No, it was some other guy, Red Pill Revolution. Definitely love to hear it. He was in Canada, Jeff C. No, I remember him. I do remember him. I think he had like... There was Red Pill Revolution, and then there was another faction, wasn't there? That was like Free Radio Revolution or something like that. And he would always say, you know what, screw it, we'll do it live or something like that. That was kind of his catchphrase. I do remember it all. I remember him. He was around during the Ebola zombie phase. He was there during the whole hoaxer community stuff where everything's a hoax and everyone's a crisis actor. He was talking about a lot of that at the time. I remember it clearly. Because it's one of those topics I was going to discuss in my Do You Remember series. Yeah, I remember that. As if he's died. I'll have to find out what happened. I'll have to look into that. That's interesting. The dark cannot stand the light. The truth is the greatest weapon for sure. I've been targeted for even sharing truths plainly on an anonymous forum. Yeah. Love to hear your journey, says Darryl Russell. Maybe I'll make a new testimony video at some point. It's been a while since I've told the story. Yeah. But again, people who subscribe to me will have heard it at some point. I know it's out there already. But yeah, maybe it's time I do make a fresh testimony video. It's been a while since I've actually done a full testimony from start to finish of how I became a believer and, all sorts, really. I think I might be a bit too young to write my memoirs. Maybe one day that'll appear when I'm getting on in age and having a serious midlife crisis. Who knows? Right, guys. I think I've talked for long enough. I've gone for 2 hours, just over there. Thanks for listening. If you like what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. And the links are down below. $5 a month gets you access to an extra video every week for your eyes only, and other posts as well, snippets of my book, random behind the scenes stuff. So I try to give as much as I can back on there to anyone who donates, which I appreciate greatly. That is the best way to support me. And now that I need to find money to get a new laptop, please, I am asking, consider it. That would be... it would be great. It would truly help me massively. Even if it's just a one-time donation on there, then you unsubscribe. I don't. Anything at all would be great. Because I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble with that laptop situation. If you want to support the book, the GoFundMe link's down there. Again, I don't touch any of that money because I'm going to use it to buy the books and sign them and post them all around the world for the people who have donated over £100. I think I've had about 17 people donate over £100 now. So they've essentially pre-ordered the book, a signed copy, which is incredible. The support out there is amazing for the book. And for those who have already donated, quick update, like I said, I have finished section 1 of the book. That's 10 chapters. I have another 26 chapters to go, but it's going, it's on there. And I think it'll be a lot. I think I'll be able to write a lot of these chapters a lot quicker than the others, because the first 10 chapters are more of a history lesson, not so much talking about the clowns, but just talking about biblical history and the Nephilim. And I've had to do a lot of cross-referencing and research for that, which has taken up a lot of time, and I've got to do a lot of editing as well. But the next stuff I'm going to discuss is all up here. I know it all because I've been doing this research for years about the clown stuff. So yeah. Telegram, guys, join Telegram if you haven't already. It's a great group discussion. We're always sharing stuff on there about anything and everything, even the clown stuff. But we share all sorts of information together on there. I think there's 70 members right now in my Telegram group. The links are down below. So get on that and join so you can literally talk to me anytime. I'm always on there chatting with people about anything and everything. So please get on the Telegram group. That would be great. A random announcement for those who are still with me. I did announce this, but I have opened up YouTube membership as well. It's £2 a month. So I think that is about $2.50 a month. It won't get you access to like extra videos or anything, but it is a bit of fun. It's like a loyalty badge thing. You'll get a special loyalty badge in the group chat. The longer you donate for, the colour changes as you go along. It's just a bit of extra support, a bit of fun. It shows more of I think it builds like a stronger community as well. And it shows those out there who, do support me get credited at the end of videos in the comment section of videos as well. I think in the description of a video, your name and image will end up there if you're a contributor on memberships. So it's just a little extra perk. Like I said, Patreon is the best way though. If you do want to support what I do, a monthly contribution is the most consistent thing for me. But I'm thankful for anything anyone can give. Like I said, YouTube membership's a bit of fun. I've opened it up. If you want to do it, you can do it. So that's it, guys. I don't think I have anything else to say. I will bring more videos throughout the week as I usually do. And I will attempt to somehow create a better high quality video about Venom from Spider-Man when I get a chance. But thanks, guys, for listening. And as always, God bless.